The enemy wishes to fight, brothers! Let us indulge them!
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Asmogan, and today we got some news from the Warhammer community page about Warhammer 40,000 and Forge World Legends and the last chance to buy. Now, the TLDR of this article is effectively several plastic kits as well as Forge World kits for Warhammer 40,000 are being discontinued. A lot of these kits are just, as they say in the article, are just not popular ones and or won't have rules for them in the upcoming edition of Warhammer 40k, that being 10th edition. And there's like other equivalents of these models that are just selling better, or these are straight up replacements for these model kits. So that's the TLDR of it. But I do encourage you all to stick around and actually hear the details, because I'm going to go through the whole article and I'm going to address points as we read. So let's just get right into it. And again, I'm going to hit on things as we go. There's slightly bittersweet news for the Warhammer 40,000 fans today, as some long-serving miniatures will be retiring from the range, both classic Space Marines and a selection of Forge World kits. I do question the phrasing of calling it retiring. I know it's a sweet way to say, hey, we're no longer selling you a set of kits because we don't want to anymore. But it's especially not the right phrase because, as we're going to get into, some of these, in particular, the Sternguard veterans, are being replaced. They're not retiring and then that's it. There's no equivalent anymore, or there is an equivalent, but it's just not by an entirely different name. No, they're being nuked and replaced by a younger facelift. And in the case of the Sternguard veterans, and in the baseline Dreadnought, Primaris equivalents. But let's get to that. Last chance to buy Space Marines. The upcoming Leviathan box is packed with new Space Marines and Tyranids, including fantastic updates to some iconic units: Terminators, Sternguard veterans, and a Ballistus Dreadnought. The arrival of these three in particular means certain older miniatures are entering last chance to buy on the Games Workshop store. Web store specifically. The Space Marine Dreadnought, the current Sternguard veterans, and the current Space Marine Terminators. Now, the Terminators, personally, I'm not really concerned about. I think the new ones look cool and in their own right better anyway. And they're the same design, just again updated and more polished. It's not like a Primaris replacement necessarily. Where that kind of enters the picture, though, is with the Space Marine Sternguard veterans and the Space Marine Dreadnought. Again, baseline Dreadnought. The box Dreadnought getting retired is actually super depressing. I have an Ironclad Dreadnought kit I still have not assembled and put together for my Black Templars. So for me, not being able to buy more of them if I really like this and fielding it, just for, at the very least for the aesthetic, is not super encouraging. I will say, and we'll get to that, but they're not retiring all of the box line Space Marine Dreadnoughts. There is going to be certain ones that are going to be sticking around, but the just core basic box Dreadnought is being removed from the game, and in its place you can play the with the Redemptor Dreadnought and variants of it, as opposed to playing the box Dreadnought. And the Sternguard veterans, again, I think the new ones that they're coming out with, the it's just Sternguard veterans. I don't know if the new ones are just a facelift of the Firstborn Marines, or if the Sternguard veterans that are going to be in the Leviathan box are going to be Primaris. I would certainly say be prepared for them to be Primaris. And if that is the case, for sure, we're now having our first example and first case of Firstborn Marines being truly replaced by Primaris. Now, there's been lots of debate in the community since the introduction of Primaris and whether they were meant to replace the Firstborn Marines and completely remove them and be the new baseline, and Firstborns being completely sifted out. That has been thankfully effectively untrue until now, because again, this is setting a precedent that I hope. Well, first of all, I hope it isn't a precedent. I hope this isn't a sign of things to come. I would love for Firstborn to remain, and for Primaris to exist as well. I hate the lore behind Primaris, but I think they exist now, and people like those kits. There are people who like Primaris for the aesthetic and possibly for the lore. and I think those should be available for those who want to buy them. I may hate the lore behind them, and therefore that kind of affects my enjoyment of the miniatures, but I still collect the miniatures of the Primaris because I like the size of them. I typically play them as Firstborn though anyway. I like that they're more true scale. Well, closer to true scale. But it is upsetting to see a Firstborn kit like the Sternguard veterans, or in the case of the old school Dreadnoughts, being truly replaced by Primaris. The box Dreadnoughts, now, if you want to do baseline, you have to get the Redemptor, which is, in my opinion, it looks uglier. I think the classic Dreadnought looks better. Like, I stand by that 100%. I don't even think that, like, for me, it's not even a debate, but some people like the Redemptor. Okay. They can still find a place on the battlefields of the new edition of Warhammer 40,000, representing kits that are still supported, like the new Sternguard unit. Specialist flavors of Dreadnought, such as the Librarian Dreadnought, the Wolfen Dreadnought, or the Venerable Dreadnought kit, aren't going anywhere either. So if you get those specialty kits, you're still getting box Dreadnoughts. However, if you want the base kit for a Dreadnought, a box Dreadnought, the classic, it's gone. You have to get the specialized Librarian Dreadnought, the Wolfen Dreadnought, or Venerable Dreadnought, which sucks. Again, and I don't know. I think the Ironclad box that I have, I think that is included in the baseline that are getting removed. I could be wrong. It could be amongst those that are still being produced. But it's not exactly clear for me there. Or I could just be being an idiot and Ironclad is the baseline and it's just called Dreadnought everywhere else. But it's the kit I have, and now I'm at the stage where if this is the kit or part of the kits that are being discontinued, do I assemble this now? Because I've had this for over like 2 years in my pile of shame, and I've always wanted to get to it for my Black Templars. Like I've always wanted to bring it up alongside my custom Leviathan Dreadnought that I have for my Black Templars. And now I'm looking at it like, do I want to preserve it as a piece of history and not open this box? I don't know. I'm not gonna lie, this is distressing to me. But at the same time, I'm a little less distressed than probably the worst case scenarios out there who really like value these kits even more than I did, because I have a 3D printer. And at the end of the day, no matter what GW does, I'm sure I can always find rescans of these prints somewhere. I can find someone who's done their own version that looks close enough to the original to still have its feel. I always have that ability, and that's the beauty of 3D printing. And, you know, I highly encourage people to get into 3D printing if you don't want to be, if when you get news like this, it doesn't affect you. It does affect me a little bit because, again, I like official support for kits and official support for like the rules and stuff as well, not just having the mini, but we're at the stage that we're at. Importantly, and despite what heretical elements in the new sphere might be claiming otherwise, the humble tactical squads, as well as many other classic kits, are not being retired. I'm going to put in the word they didn't yet. In the new edition of Warhammer 40,000, you will still be able to play a Space Marines army without deploying so much as a single Primaris Marine. Unless you wanted to play Sternguard veterans or place Dreadnoughts, and you aren't gonna be or you might not have the money, you might not have the budget for it at the moment, what have you. But if you can't engage in this FOMO of this last chance to buy, then yes, you will have. If you wanted to play Sternguard veterans, but you wanted Firstborn, and you miss out on this FOMO sale, you will have to use Primaris. So that's a deceptive line. I think that's a deceptive line. In the new edition of Warhammer 40,000, you will still be able to play Space Marines army without deploying so much as a single Primaris Marine, if you so choose. Again, I think that's kind of a snaky line, personally. They're trying to reassure people, but you're getting rid of original kits. If people miss out on this last chance to buy shit and the FOMO you're setting up, and they don't get the original Stern Guard or the original Dreadnought, they will have to field a Primaris equivalent. So, bullshit. Legends in 10th edition. The good news for longtime collectors is that you will still be able to use many of your older miniatures in games of the new Warhammer 40,000. The new edition will support these units with comprehensive Legends rules, which will be available to download free online around the game's release. These are 100% official rules with points, and we actively encourage you to use them in your games at home, in stores, clubs, and campaigns. Your classic units and characters are still awesome, and they deserve to see the battlefield every now and again. Legends rules will not, however, be actively balanced going forwards, so our recommendation is that these rules would not be suitable for competitive events. So they're ceasing support of the Legends units. That's what they're saying in so many words. Like, they're doing that thing where it's like, oh, well, in your normal everyday games, we will still have rules and stuff. But if you want to put it in a tournament, we're not going to bother doing balancing rules and stuff like that. Right. Forge World, last chance to buy. Now, I'm not even going to keep reading like this core text stuff. Basically, everything that I'm about to like read off, these are all things that Forge World is also ceasing support of. So I really hope STL makers out there have got these things and can make very close replicas, or perhaps analyze them on a careful degree and get a very close approximation of which they can make their own versions to put up on places like Cults and Thingiverse. Anyway, Space Marines Relic Contemptor Dreadnought, Blood Ravens Gabriel Angelos, the Salamanders Venerable Dreadnought, the Minotaurs Asterion Moloch Ivenus and Comey. I fucked that up. Minotaurs Contemptor Dreadnought, Red Scorpions Carib Coln the Risen, Inquisitor Lord Rex and his retinue, Inquisitor Lok and retinue, the Vendetta Gunship Conversion Kit, the Dreadfire Close Combat Arms, and Tiberos the Red Wake. Which, if I remember correctly, he's the chapter master of the Carcharodons. Well, the Carcharodons part is right there, but I believe Tiberos is the chapter master. So if you're a Carcharodons player, I hope you find an STL out there worthy of it if you can't buy the Forge World stuff before this sells out. Leaving the range of Chaos units. This also kind of got to me a little bit and annoyed me, but let's get into it. Chaos Demons Bloodthirster, Greater Demon of Khorne, Chaos Demons Unclean One, Greater Demon of Nurgle, Keeper of Secrets, Greater Demon of Slash, Lord of Change, Greater Demon of Tzeentch, Khorne Demon Prince and Herald, Terminator Lord Zufor, Nurgle Demon Prince and Herald, Hellblade Fighter, Hell Talon Fighter Bomber, and the World Aegis Conversion Kit. Out of these, the one that makes most sense to me is the World Aegis Conversion Kit, because now that we have those in plastic for like the World Aegis stuff, that makes sense that they wouldn't have the resin version of Forge World. That makes perfect sense, right? The part that upsets me is they're nuking the Bloodthirster, the Great Unclean One, the Keeper of Secrets, and Lord of Change. Also leaving the range for Xenos kits, Tyranid Melanthrope, the Tyranid Demacaron, Drukhari Reaper, the Necron Pylons, the Necron Night Shroud Bomber, the Orc Warboss on Bike, the Orc Mech Boss Buzzgob, Orc Super Cannon, Orc Stompa Head, and Orc Stompa Lifta Droppa Arm. And there's a series of things that have already left the range. I'm not even going to list off. I'm upset about the Stompa Belly Gun because I wanted that for my Stompa, but whatever. I can definitely find an STL for that. The Orc stuff doesn't concern me because the amount of Orc stuff on availability that you can find on Cults, Thingiverse, or My Mini Factory, there's just so much Orc stuff. So I'm not worried about that. But the rest of this is upsetting. I'm not happy to see the greater demons of each of the Chaos Gods go. The Great Unclean One, the Keeper of Secrets, the Lord of Change. I'm not happy about this. I'm not happy that those are going. I don't know if it's just the old versions and they have new ones that they're coming out with, or if they're just gonna fall back on something else. I don't know. I don't want to be doom and gloom. I really don't, but it feels so harrowing and like hollow to be listing off so much stuff that's being nuked. And they're doing shit like this, like, oh, don't worry, we're not forcing you to play Primaris unless you want to play Sternguard Veteran. Fuck you. It's just, yeah, I don't think this is good news at all. I will do this. I will say this. They're a company. They got to focus on profits. And if these kits are just not selling at all, it makes sense to not put any energy into making them. But at the same time, couldn't you guys just just switch them all to make to order? Like, just keep the molds and have them like somewhere in the factory, right? In the workshop, if you will. But just, you don't have to get rid of them. Just have them on availability for when you have to do the injection molding process for a made to order. Hell, I wouldn't be even opposed if that becomes the case to increase the cost of them. Not that I think, trust me, all the shit's expensive as it is. At the same time, if you switch into that process and you rarely ever have to do it, then yeah, it becomes a specialty item. I can get increasing the price. But again, it's just, it feels shitty that they're getting rid of the box Dreadnought. Like, that base Dreadnought, that core Dreadnought. For me, it's probably the second most iconic image and unit next to Space Marines themselves in terms of Warhammer 40,000. Like, when I think Warhammer 40k, the first thing that comes to mind is Space Marines. I think that goes for most people. And then the second thing is Terminators. Third thing, Primarchs. Fourth thing, the Emperor. I know, blasphemy. The fourth thing is the Emperor. I will be burned as a heretic. But, like, the Dreadnought is the box Dreadnought, mind you. I don't think the Redemptor ever. I hate the Redemptor's design, personally. I like the box Dreadnought design. The only non-box Dreadnought I like is the Leviathan. The Leviathan Dreadnought is the only other one that I think looks cool as shit. The rest of them, no. Box Dreadnoughts and the Leviathan. That's pretty much it for, like, the Dreadnought designs I like. Anything after that, it's gonna be like Imperial Knights, Titans. Like, I jump right back up, like right up to the biggest ones. The Redemptor, no interest. It's just, yeah, I think it looks ugly. I think it looks ugly as shit. So, yeah, that's the general news. They're nuking several kits, and now if you want to play with Dreadnoughts, if you miss out on this FOMO sale, you have to play the Redemptor. All the, like, the baseline Dreadnought. That, or you have to field the Librarian Dreadnought, the Wolfen Dreadnought, or the Venerable Dreadnought. Those are your options now. And again, I don't know where the Ironclad is on that list. It might not be on that list. It might be included in the base Dreadnought form. I know I might be an idiot, and this is the base Dreadnought kit, and it's just, I'm putting too much emphasis on the Ironclad part. But yeah, I also don't want to, like, be dramatic and be, like, super downer about this. It's, at the end of the day, it's a business move. They're doing what they will. I just don't like the feeling of it. And again, I stand by my take that, yeah, they're trying to do that call out thing where, you know, people like me are going to make that claim that they're going to start sifting out Primaris. But are we wrong? Is that perspective wrong? They say right here, oh, you know, we're gonna make sure, but this statement's already a lie. Like, this paragraph in particular is already a lie. And in the new edition of Warhammer 40,000, you will still be able to play a Space Marines army without deploying so much as a single Primaris Marine, unless you wanted the box Dreadnought or the Space Marine Sternguard veterans. If you wanted those and you miss out on the FOMO last chance to buy, you will. Because the new Sternguard veterans are going to be Primaris, and there's not a firstborn equivalent. So how is that not you blatantly being deceptive, GW? It's a bullshit line. It's bullshit. Yeah, that's just my piece on the subject. Again, I don't like the feeling of it. But let me know what you guys thought in the comment section below. Do you guys think that, you know, I shouldn't be feeling down about this? I'm definitely subscribing or ascribing too much, like, seriousness to this, and it's really just, doesn't matter. And especially in my case, since I have a 3D printer, maybe I definitely am. Who knows? But I just don't like the feeling, and I really don't like the thought that this is going to continue. And no matter what they say in bullshit like this, articles are editable. So who's to say in 10 years this might be reapproached and they do think tactical squads aren't selling as well as the space as the intercessors. Well, let's just get rid of the old kits. Let's get rid of firstborn tactical squads. Let's get rid of firstborn this, firstborn that. If you want to do it here, who's saying you're not want to do it further down the road? So just because you make a statement like this of confidently saying we're not retiring anything else, you retired this, so that doesn't bring me any confidence. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, or at the very least, you guys are, if you trust this line and that they're truly not going to do that, I'm glad for your faith in Games Workshop. At least someone's got to have it, right? Anyway, that's it for me. I'm out, guys. Bye.